Megan Prats, thank you so much for that report. Switching gears now, the third season of the award-winning podcast series Being Seen is officially here. This season centers around the stories of Black women and femmes working to prioritize mainstream media and entertainment narratives that seek to reduce stigma and bias. We are so excited to say joining us now is the podcast host, Tony award-winning actor and singer Anika Noni Rose. Anika, welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you. So,
Thank you.
Of course. We know this is the first season of Being Seen that you're hosting. Why was it so important for you to join this conversation?
Well, I think that I'm in a special position with the work that I do to be heard in a different way than someone else because of the amount of people who follow me, because of the different backgrounds that these people come from. I am able to reach a wide swath of people, and I feel like that is a gift that can't be wasted. If I can use that for good, if I can use that in a real life space, that's what I want to do.
So the podcast asks such an important question, especially now. How do storytellers and their stories shape society? Anika, can you help us answer that? What is the importance of storytellers and, of course, the power that they have in the stories that they tell?
Yeah, I'll go straight to the power that they have. We have, those of us who are telling stories have the ability to change narratives. So within that space, that doesn't mean there isn't space for frivolity or fantasy or things that aren't even necessarily good things, because those are stories that need to be told as well. But there's room to tell stories that move the needle. There's room to tell stories that prioritize those for whom the world does not prioritize. And that's how you change the narrative. We have the ability in our media, in our entertainment, to change the space in which Black women are seen, to change the narrative of the strong Black woman, and to show a more humanistic view of Black women and Black femmes that will bring people to an understanding and a connection that maybe they didn't otherwise have, even for Black women and femmes themselves to come to their own understanding and connections that maybe they didn't otherwise have.
What opportunity does this podcast offer viewers, especially those that are directly impacted here?
Well, I think that one thing that we are focusing on, we're focusing on a lot of things, but one thing that we're talking about this season through the Association of Vive Healthcare is the disproportionate number of HIV infection rates among the Black woman and Black femme community, and how Black women living with HIV are so often not accessing care. What we are able to do through here is to educate people on the fact that HIV is still a real and viable thing in our world, how people are infected, how you can access help, how the fact that there are drugs now that you can take once a day, the fact that you can live a healthy, active, full life with HIV, the same amount of years you may have lived without HIV, as long as you have the information, the knowledge, the medication that you need. These are things that I don't hear in the news. I didn't know how many Black women were living with HIV until doing the research for this podcast. And I think that that's something we really need to talk about and give these women the space to live, hopefully, to love, to know that if they are on their medication and their levels are undetectable, then they are unable to spread HIV to the partners that they love. This is something they should know and that their partners should know. And in this way, we better people's lives and we change the narrative that is the stigma that is around HIV. Just one thing that we're talking about.
Thank you so much for shedding light on this, because you're right. I don't think many people do know those statistics are dire and they're scary, so we really appreciate that. I do want to switch gears here because everyone is talking about the series Maid on Netflix. You play Regina. The series shows the struggle of a mother aiming to do what's best for her and her daughter while escaping an emotional, abusive relationship. You said in a recent interview you didn't know the series was going to be such an emotional roller coaster. Everyone I know that has seen it has loved it. It's on my queue. Could you relate to the character at all here, Anika, especially how Regina helped the main character, Alex?
Well, I can relate to people misunderstanding who you are and thinking that you are something and only that one thing, and you not having a space to change necessarily that impression from the outside in. I definitely can relate to that as somebody who is an introvert. um, but I also relate to the desire to assist those who may not be as fortunate as I am in any one given day. Sometimes I'm the person who's not as fortunate as somebody else and who may need a hand. So I definitely connect to that desire to be able to assist someone when you can, how you can. Um, that is something that I see and speaks to me deeply.
Will there be a season 2? Because a lot of fans are hoping there is one. Have you heard anything?
I don't think there's a season 2. But the good thing about Netflix is that you can watch it over and over.
All right, that's good to know. And I'm sure many, many people will. I can't wait to watch it for the first time. I do want to go back to the podcast. It's presented by Vive Healthcare. That's the only pharmaceutical company solely focused on HIV. How important, again, and I know you talked about this earlier, Anika, is bringing these stories to light. Why is it so important? Especially because the first season was based on gay and queer Black male experience. Season 2 was based around masculinity and representation in Hollywood. Why this subject for this season?
Well, it's time. It's past time. And I think that part of the importance of something like Vive Healthcare is that they are a company that is run by lots of women. And there are lots of Black women involved in that company. And that means that they are making a priority Black women's health. So often there are drugs, there are protocols, there are things put out in the world for any different number of maladies that are only tested on white men. That leaves so many people out of what that drug could do for you. And you don't even know how you could be assisted by this form of healthcare, whatever it is. Vive Healthcare goes into what they're doing, looking at studying, prioritizing Black women who are very often left out of that conversation when it comes to health and health care. So that is something that is very, very necessary because our bodies respond to things differently because of DNA, because of so many different things. And that's something that has to be recognized and rectified within our healthcare system.
For you to say that it was only tested on white men, I can't believe we're still talking about that now. Again, such an important subject to shed light on. Thank you for that. Thanks to Being Seen podcast host and Tony Award-winning actor and singer Anika Noni Rose. We appreciate your time, Anika. Thank you.